Join us now then on this trip through history to see what's happened to the 38th over those 25 years. Here we are in North Wales for summer camp in '74. We had a mixture of weather here. It ended up with a disaster, blowing down half the tents, but we hiked over many high mountains and sometimes endured some pretty appalling weather. It's a job to see. Here we are, yeah, Sunday Scout Zone, Millbath Taylor sitting there. There's David Lewis and Mark and Matthew Lewis, I think, were there, and Robert Webb. I think we climbed all the way up this slate and then realised it was the wrong way and had to climb all the way back down again to find the right way up to the top of the mountain. But the farmers there were not very cooperative. At one point we had about 100 yards to go to get to where we want to go, and the farmer said no, we couldn't go through his land. We had to go around the lake about 10 miles when we'd already hiked about 10 miles already. Going pretty high here, we're looking out towards the Irish Sea in the distance. Pretty steep climb. There's Mark Webb struggling to get up. And David Lewis again. We're probably up around about 3,000 feet now. And then coming down, somebody had a quick cool off in the lake. They didn't have a lot of choice. I think Jonathan Klein's one of the leaders there, making sure that they get thrown in. And here we are on our way back to camp, and because the farmer wouldn't let us go a couple of 100 yards across his land, we had to wade across the river carrying some of the smaller ones, and then he accused us of damaging the fish on the way over, so we couldn't win whatever we did. I think that was Brother Bath Taylor carrying one of the younger ones. That's Matthew Day, all getting ready for the usual kid inspection. Bulldog patrol, I think that was Jonathan Klein's patrol. And then we went on a train trip and to a beach on the Welsh coast. I think it was called Black Sands, although it obviously wasn't black, but the mountains of North Wales in the background. And then back to cooking evening meal. There's Mark Lewis, and the farmer's dog came to help us play football, Debbie Day. Oh, that was a hopeless catch. He wouldn't play for England, would he? But here the weather was much more reasonable than we put up with at times. At the end of this camp, we had a confrontation with the farmer, who thought we were going to pay him over £100 in camp fees, which would have been a fortune then. And then we climbed Mount Tryfan, one of the highest mountains in that region, and at the top there were two rocks about 8 foot apart, a 3,000 foot drop at the side, and there's Bill Cooper jumping from one to the other. And then on our way down and back to camp, back to the farmer. In the end we negotiated and I paid him £12 instead of the 120 expected. Pretty dark weather again, and this was the result of a night storm that wrecked half our tents. So we improvised with what else we had, although one patrol slept right through it. We found them asleep in the morning with the remains of their tent draped over them. But everything had to be dried out. The loos were destroyed in the process. It was everything that North Wales can throw at you at its worst. A few tents survived, as we can see, but we had to spend quite a lot of time sorting things out and repairing where we could. That was the demolished loos. Fortunately, it was towards the end of the camp, so we didn't have long to endure after this. David Lewis tucking into a hearty breakfast. And there's Mark Webb giving up with knife and fork and using fingers in the end. And one of our other leaders, I'm afraid his name forsakes me now. He was only with us for a couple of years. There's Debbie Day running around. We've basically got ourselves back together again after the storm. But then more of it came down and it is bouncing off the roof of the car. Going back, the pickup lorry arrived very late and we got home about 3 o'clock in the morning.